Becky, and this is Holly and Scott Lanker. And I've heard a lot about what you guys are doing as far as homeschooling your kids, and me personally, I could definitely use some help. So what are you guys doing that is,
Yeah, so last Monday we started getting a lot of emails from school, getting started with homeschooling, and we were getting from many different teachers. Cora has 7 teachers, and Reagan has 2, and Grant has 1, and lots of logins and passwords, and we're going to use this app and that app, and it was so much to keep track of. I was feeling so overwhelmed.
Oh, I know.
And trying to go back to all of those emails, it was too stressful. So I made a Word document for each one of the kids, and I put their teacher's name, contact information, and all of the important details for each child, and all of the apps that they were going to use, and the logins and passwords that I needed for each kid. And then Scott and I sat down and we found every app that was needed, and we put them in a file on the iPad that says homeschool. So all of the apps for homeschooling for each child are in a file, so they can just click on that and go into those documents. And then we also created a home base, which has been important for us to have. Like, everybody has a spot where their stuff goes, and it's there at the beginning of the day, it's there at the end of the day. So that's been really helpful. And my sister-in-law has been homeschooling for quite a while, and she gave a great piece of advice, which has been wonderful for us, which has just been start the day with a walk. And it's been so nice to go out and get some fresh air and get the wiggles out a little bit. And so we've been really diligent about staying right at 8:30. We start our walk and be back in our seats and start by 9 and open with prayer, and then they go from there. So
I love that.
It's been a journey, but we're only on day 4. But we're learning.
Well, you got a great start, and you're definitely helping us out by sharing your tips and tricks. So with all of this going on, I mean, everything has kind of been turned upside down. We're teachers. Whoever would have thought I would be a teacher for one? So I thank you guys for sharing that, but how are you guys trusting God in this? I mean, it's kind of uprooted us and changed our daily life. How are you guys trusting God?
I think a couple of things that have stood out to me as I've kind of prayed about this whole thing and just going through this whole situation, and we're just figuring it out as we go here. But a couple of things that I feel like God has kind of pointed out to me is that, number one, He's our provider, He's our source. Not the government, not the publics, not our job, not anything. God, only God.
True.
And so, we can have confidence in that. I think a lot of times as Americans, we've not had to rely on Him for our daily needs because we live in America and we all, But in other parts of the world, maybe that's not the way they live, and so it's maybe harder for us. But this I think is a good wake-up call for us to come back to, hey, at the end of the day, God is our source. He's our provider. I can have confidence in that and trust and have that hope. The second thing I think that he's shown me is that it's not about us. It's not about me. Because he's already told us He will provide for our needs. So we no longer have to spend our focus on simply, what am I going to do and how am I going to get through this and how is this inconvenient for me? But we're in the middle of a really hurting world right now that a lot of people are really freaking out. And they have no hope. They don't have the hope that we do.
True.
And we can share. We do have hope, and we can share that. And I think of a situation at work just Friday. We had a contractor that was there, and he was talking to a couple of our employees who are believers, and he just was saying, hey, he was really worried, really anxious. I don't know how this is going to affect. I don't know if I'm going to have a job and all this stuff, and we might get sick. And they were able to share with him, the hope that we have. And they said, well, this is why, we can we cannot live in fear. And they were able to share the gospel with him.
That's so good.
And so I think as Christians right now, I hope that we can think offensively and not defensively, that we can think less about how can I get me through this and more about the opportunity that we have that God has given us on a silver platter.
Yeah.
That, you know, we're in the middle of a hurting world that just now figured out how desperate they really are. And we do have the hope. And so we can share that. I think this is a amazing opportunity that we have as Christians. And I hope that we as the church can communicate that to the world and can be the beacon of light.
That's awesome. And I love how you share it's an opportunity, because it is an opportunity for us to share hope in Jesus Christ, and he is our hope. So that's so good. Holly?
Yeah, and worry and anxiety and fear are something that I've struggled with throughout my life. So when something like this happens, even though it's something that God's been really working on me in the past few years, and I feel like I've learned to trust him a lot more through circumstances, when something like this happens, it's easy to just feel like I shouldn't have to, you know, try and work at my faith and just kind of be lazy a little bit spiritually, and like I just need to get through this however I can. And what has been motivating me has been thinking about that even though my kids don't really understand the gravity of the situation we're going through right now, when they're adults, this is going to be history, and it's something that people are going to talk about, and probably their kids will ask them, what was it like going through the pandemic of 2020? And I want them to be able to look back and say, you know, my parents were not afraid, and they really trusted God through this, and we laughed and we had fun and we cared for the people around us. And I want them to have those memories. So when I'm feeling like, you know, taking out my stress on other people, or just not spending time in prayer, that's the thing that really motivates me. And when I'm feeling anxious or stressed, I know that I just need to take a minute to step away, take some deep breaths and pray and talk to God about it and let him guide me. And one of the verses that he's recalled to my mind has been James 1, 2, and 3. My brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And it's easy for me sometimes to discount the difficulties that I go through, because I can always think of people who have it a lot worse than me. And so when I do that, though, I a lot of times don't use that experience. And so the fact that it says, whenever you face trials of any kind, big or small, and even if this seems smaller to me, what I'm going through compared to what a lot of people are going through right now, it's a trial of some kind.
That's right.
It's definitely been different.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity for me to grow in my faith.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm going to go back and use these tips and tricks on my kids, Natalie and Amelia. Thank you very much. So it was great talking to you guys. Thank you.
thank you, Becky.